So Trump has always branded himself politically as an outsider. He's tried to portray himself as anti-establishment. I remember when he ran in 2015 and 2016, he made a big deal about, I'm self-funding my campaign. I don't need their money. Jeb Bush needs their money. Marco needs their money. Ted needs their money. I don't need their money. And, I mean, basically, that was a lie. It was a lie because he was never self-funding his campaign. He was always raising money from billionaire donors and multinational corporations. And the ironic part of it is, Trump actually wished he was like Hillary Clinton, who was beloved by the entire establishment, had so many billionaire donors, had so many corporate donors, just was swimming in corporate cash and lobbyist cash. And Trump had a lot of support from the right-wing billionaires, the pro-Israel billionaires, and certain corporations like military-industrial complex and oil companies, etc. But he didn't have as much widespread support from the entire elite establishment like Hillary Clinton did. But again, he was always striving to get that. He pretended to the public like, I don't need any of their support, actually. It's not true. He was basically down on his hands and knees behind the scenes, wishing they would treat him like they treat Hillary Clinton. He wants to be beloved by those rooms full of Wall Street douchebags and political leaders, etc. So I tell you all that to give you this story. Trump begging for campaign donations by personally promising rich mega donors tax cuts. Yeah, so much for self-funding, right? Former President Trump's fundraising pitch to GOP mega donors has become more and more explicit in recent months. According to various reports highlighting Trump directly promising favorable policies in return for cash. That's what we call a quid pro quo. The Washington Post's Josh Dawsey reported on Monday that when Trump met with top donors in a swanky New York hotel earlier in May, he made clear that unless they increased their donations significantly, he would not be very happy and their taxes would go up. Dawsey reported that Trump told the group that a businessman had recently offered $1 million to his presidential effort and wanted to have lunch. Quote, "I'm not having lunch," Trump reportedly replied to the businessman, adding, "You've got to make it $25 million. Jesus. Hey, we'll give you $1 million. Let's have lunch with us. Better be 25. I don't even get out of bed unless it's for 10 or more. Another businessman, he said, had traditionally given $2 to $3 million to Republicans. Instead, he said he told the donor that he wanted a $25 million or $50 million contribution, or he would not be very happy. As he closed his pitch at the Pierre Hotel, Trump explained to the group why it was in their interest to cut large checks. If he was not put back in office, taxes would go up for them under President Biden, who vows to let Trump-era tax cuts on the wealthy and corporations expire at the end of 2025. Those tax cuts all expire for wealthy and poor and middle income and everything else, but they expire in another 7 months, and he's not going to renew them, which means taxes are going up by 4 times, Trump reportedly said. "You're going to have the biggest tax increase in history, so whatever you guys can do, I really appreciate it," concluded the former president, who has been trailing Biden in fundraising throughout the 2024 campaign. Earlier in May, the Post also reported that Trump huddled with executives from many of the country's largest oil companies and told them they need to donate $1 billion to his campaign. In exchange for the massive donation, Trump promised to make sure they got whatever environmental regulations that required from the government to maximize their businesses. In other words, I'll deregulate you, let you do your pollution and whatever else, and I'll make sure you get your subsidies from the government, but you got to donate all this money to my campaign. Quote, Trump's offer of a blatant quid pro quo to oil executives is practically an invitation to ask questions about big oil's political corruption and manipulation. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse later said in a statement as he raised the prospect of a Senate investigation into the meeting, House Democrats have asked the oil executives at the meeting executives at the meeting to detail in written statements specifically what Trump offered them. So in other words, look, he's getting sloppy. Homie's getting sloppy in his older age. He got lazy, he got comfortable, and now he doesn't even realize that there's a little tap dance that goes on here. There's a little give and take. There's a little bit of a wink and a nod that goes on here. That there's still some laws on the books vis-a-vis corruption, no matter how much people basically get away with their corruption. But he's now out there just doing blatant quid pro quos. He's now out there saying, I know you said you give me 1 million or 2 million. You got to give me 25. You got to give me 50. And you know what? If you give me that, you get your big, beautiful tax cuts. You get your big, beautiful tax cuts. And the oil executives, you guys got to give me $1 billion. And if you give me $1 billion, I guarantee you'll get your subsidies, you'll get your deregulation, you'll get whatever you want. Guys, this is oligarchy. This is oligarchy. And understand, the Democrats do this too. But the Republicans just do it to a more insane degree, right? And also their donor bases are slightly different. Like with the Republicans, it's going to be the NRA. It's going to be the oil industry. The Democrats don't have those, but they do have, say, trial lawyers. Both parties have Wall Street. Both of them have Wall Street and do this with Wall Street. Both of them do this with the military-industrial complex. But Trump has now injected it with human growth hormone and steroids, letting his freak flag fly, saying things brazenly, caught in the act doing quid pro quos. And the bottom line is, you give me more money, I give you more tax cuts. I give you more deregulation. I give you more subsidies. In other words, government of, by, and for the wealthy. Government of, by, and for the oligarchs. It is not ambiguous. It is not up in the air. It is not a question. The decision is very clear. The conclusion is very clear. Totally bought and owned by corporations, totally bought and owned by the billionaires and the donors. And again, flies directly in the face of what he's always told us, this idea of I'm anti-establishment, I'm self-funding my campaign. None of that was ever true. This guy is beloved by the establishment. And if you think this is the first time stories like this have ever gotten out, boy, are you not paying attention, bro. I mean, we covered it way back in the day. Trump's inauguration, he took $1 million from the predatory payday loan industry. Then he immediately turned around and dropped the new regulations that were supposed to go into effect against them and dropped the court cases that were going on against them. Like that. So he's just as bad as the rest of them, if not worse. And I haven't even brought up yet the funding of foreign governments. I haven't even brought up the Saudi connection, paying $2 billion to Jared Kushner, paying tens of millions or hundreds of millions to Trump for the live golf tournaments. What do you think they're going to get in response for this? Well, we already know. He did nothing when they murdered Jamal Khashoggi. Nothing. He vetoed a bill that got through the Senate under his watch that banned us arming and funding Saudi Arabia as they did the genocide in Yemen. He vetoed that and said, go ahead, you keep doing the genocide and here's the weapons. Totally bought and owned. Totally bought and owned. And my guess is that list of corporations and billionaires and countries that are buying him is getting longer and longer and longer with all of this debt that he's now under because of his various crimes. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.